Hi, I'm Jean Curry, and I am coming to you from At the Core to talk to you today about meditation, and more specifically, to talk to you today about how your mind is like this measuring cup. And so, what we want to talk about is the mechanics of the mind, what it can handle, and its process of digestion. So, let's start with this idea that everything we take in through the senses is nourishment for the mind. So all day long, and let's particularly talk about what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. So if we are listening to music, if we are watching TV, if we are driving and reading the billboards and everything we see on the way to our day, all of this is nourishment that we take into our mind. And it all fills it. Okay. Now, the same process happens with any kind of nourishment. We have times of bringing in, and we need times for digestion. So I want you to imagine your favorite place to eat or your favorite meal, or think about a buffet. And how long can you really eat before you get full? And let's assume that the quality of this food is stellar. It is the best quality food that you can eat. The truth is, we can maybe eat for half an hour, probably less, before we can't take in any more. And then what we need is about 3 to 5 hours to allow the body to digest what we've just taken in, to take from that nourishment all that has value for us, all that builds and energizes, and then to separate what doesn't work for us, the waste, and to eliminate that. Because no matter what, there is waste. Even from the best quality food that we eat, there is something that doesn't work for us and that we eliminate as waste. So when we bring this analogy back to our mind, my question is, how much time in the day do you spend eating at the buffet of sensory nourishment? And how much time do you spend not intaking and digesting? And it's probably enough to understand why we can maybe have some mental stress or strain. So what happens when we do some sort of mental digestive process is we digest things. We process them. We eliminate them. The mind settles and soothes, and there is less than. And then we go back into our next day. So when we sleep, this is what happens. We intake all day long, and then we sleep, and while we're dreaming, while we're resting at night, a digestive process is happening. But unfortunately, in today's day and age, there's not enough balance in our process of intake and restful digestion to get it all. So this is where I start perhaps the next day. And then I begin again. I put the news on. I put my phone on. I start at work with my family. Netflix. All the things that we take in a day until I can't take in anymore. Now, if we have restful times of mindfulness where what we're taking in does not require digestion, such as time in nature, time with our eyes closed, meditating times, we digest a little bit. So if we stop in our day, either for a moment or for 10 or 20 minutes, we can eliminate some. And I was recently showing this example to my son as we were talking about headaches and the mechanics of the mind. And so what happens for us, what I try to do every day is I have my morning, I wake up. And the first thing I do is a practice of some sort of mindfulness. And I eliminate what is there. Ideally, I try to start my day fresh. And then I go through my morning. Phone. Doesn't even matter what the quality of the impressions are. We're not talking even about that yet. I go through half of my day. And then at some point, I take some time to go out into nature, to sit quietly, to allow a digestion of part of the day to happen. Turn my phone off, and I sit and I digest, and digestion happens. And then I go back into the rest of my day. The evening, I meet my family for dinner feeling rested and feeling clear, and I go into the evening and all that that's required of us. And then before bed, take a little bit of time to either take a walk, to turn the phone off, so that when I'm going to sleep, a lot has already been released. So that when I'm sleeping, anything that remains can also be released. So that when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with a clear, calm mind. Now, recently I was sharing this with my teenage son. And when I showed him this and said, imagine waking up and this is what your mind is already like. And then you meditate or then you sleep. Can you imagine what happens? And he looked at me and his eyes got big and he said, do you level up? Because everything is about leveling up nowadays, but he is absolutely right. That is what happens. You begin then to process the deeper stresses that we hold from the past. You begin to strengthen and grow your capacities. And maybe you move from this to this. He loved this idea. And he said to me, oh my God, this makes so much sense. He said, how do you know this? And I said to him, well, this is my job. This is what I've spent the last 15 years, along with my husband, Yogesh and I, this is what we've done. This is what we do. We practice, we study, and we have seen this in ourselves and with so many of our students, hundreds and hundreds of students, that if you take a little bit of time to digest the mental, emotional nourishment that you take in during the day, then you will find there's less here. Then you will find when there's a problem, you've got some space to maneuver. You can figure things out in a little bit of a different way. But when everything is full or brimming over, there's no wiggle room. There's no space to move. There's no space for creativity and the wisdom that lives deep within us to arise, because everything is already full. So I thought that I would share this and see what you think. We have a few options for meditation practices coming up soon. 2 of them. One, we have something called Meditation in the Mind, where we share classes live and in person that Yogesh teaches, sharing all the experience of not only how to do an easy practice that actually works, but understanding how what goes on in the mind can support the practice and can also hinder the practice with its resistances, procrastinations, and stories. So that's a 6-week class coming up. The other thing we're offering, and this is either for someone who has an established practice and wants to begin to weave more of the meditative experience of mental digestion into their everyday, or for someone who feels like they just do not have time to meditate. While you were hearing me talking and you're thinking, how do you take time to meditate in the morning, to take some time in the afternoon, to take some time in the evening? If that's your situation, then we have a class called Meditation Moments in Everyday Life. Because the space to meditate is cultivated over time. And to cultivate space, you just need to start with a little bit of space and you honor it. And by doing that, that space begins to grow and grow and grow. Obviously, when we started meditating over 15 years ago, it wasn't easy. And I wasn't doing it 3 times a day. And it was little windows that grew and grew and grew. So with our Meditation Moments in Everyday Life class, this is an online class that anybody can join at any time from anywhere. All the lessons are recorded so that you can either join us live or you can catch them at your convenience. And what they share is how to take moments of digestion at any time during your day. So whether you take a big chunk of 20 minutes in the afternoon, or once an hour, you take a minute or two, the digestive process is still the same. The bottom line is we need to give ourselves a rest. Just imagine yourself at a buffet, your favorite food, the most beautifully crafted, the highest quality ingredients. But someone said, you have to keep eating and you cannot stop. That's what's happening to our mind. And imagine the symptoms and the discomfort you would feel physically. These are often what we're feeling mentally and emotionally because we are always at the buffet of sensory intake. So however you find a way to take a little bit of break, to close your eyes, to close your ears, or to look out in nature at something that is calm and slow and restful, you will begin to find that your mind empties, that you have greater clarity, greater calmness, and a greater capacity to make better choices that save you time. So, I'd love to know what you think about this. Post a comment below and let us know if this resonates. Does it make sense? Do these videos have value for you? We'd love to hear. And if you're interested in more information about our live or our online courses to help you digest what you experience every day, you can visit us at www.atthecore.ca. where we hope you have an experience to explore your nature at the core. Thanks for joining me.